Let's talk about something people don't like to say out loud. Why is it that so many black neighborhoods across America, the corner stores, beauty supply stores, liquor stores, and small markets are often owned by people who don't live in those communities? Now, before anybody twists this into something it isn't, let me be clear. This is not about hating Asian people. This is not about hating immigrants. This is not about attacking anybody trying to survive or build a better life in America. This is just about history, capitalism, ownership, and ultimately, this is about power. For those of y'all who don't know, there was a recent trial for the shooting of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton in South Carolina. And the prosecutor was going after an Asian store owner who calls himself Rick Chow. That's not his real name, but he goes by Rick Chow. And in this case, the young man was accused of stealing 4 bottles of water. He ran out the store. The store owner chased after him with a gun, said he was protecting his family because he thought young Carmack had a gun, and shot him in the back while he was running. And that has led to the black community overall suggesting that they should boycott Asian businesses. And whenever black people collectively decide to do something, you gotta expect the 3-card Monty to be played about, hey man, why don't y'all boycott your own business because y'all killing your own people? And don't fall for that, guys. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the black community as a whole feeling like they're being disrespected and their dollar is not being respected and doing an economic boycott. It's not about what you think about black culture and the black community, which I'll touch on a little bit later. Stay focused. This is about an overall collective of the black community saying, hey, we don't want to spend our dollars here. Not about crime. And it's good to point out that Rick Chow went on trial and he was acquitted. Justice was served, but the community as a whole did not like the results. So now they're choosing to put economic pressure on Asian businesses. And let me say, man, the response from a lot of Asian business owners online has been super visceral. To the point, man, like it's been shocking to see some of the racist tangents that a lot of Asian people in America are just shooting at the black community overall, saying that, hey man, we're just not gonna spend our money at your store. And they've been threatened. We're gonna take all the businesses out. Y'all can't live without us. Man, you need to learn American history, man. Black folks have been doing without for so long. And if we're being honest, you need our money. So those threats are kind of just idle. Ask Target what a black boycott can do to their business. And I'm just gonna be honest, man, I don't think all you guys got Target money, right? And I know this is not the whole Asian community as a whole. I'm not singling out all my Asian brothers and sisters. I'm just saying those who are speaking like they actually own mainland China or something like that, calm down. Seriously, calm down and think about what you're saying before you put it online and ruin your life. But what I really want to talk about is not so much the Asian response, but I want to put things in perspective why black folks are boycotting. In my opinion, black folks are boycotting and why this is so important. Because neighborhoods don't become poor by accident. Black neighborhoods didn't wake up one day and decide not to have grocery stores, banks, investments, or thriving businesses in those communities. Those outcomes were built through policies such as redlining, housing discrimination, banking discrimination, and unequal schools, urban renewal projects that destroy black communities. Guess what Central Park was before Central Park? Then we got lack of public transportation in America. Then we got lack of business capital. For generations, black Americans were excluded from the very system that created wealth and ownership. And meanwhile, many immigrant groups entered America and found pathways into small business ownership, sometimes through family networks, sometimes through community circles, sometimes through like supplier relationships and access to capital from their countries. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's what many Black Americans have wanted for themselves all along. The opportunity to own, because ownership changes everything. Like when you own the store, you learn the supply chain, you learn the vendors, you learn about credit, you learn inventory, you learn how money moves. But when you're only a customer, you mainly learn how to spend. And if the businesses in your neighborhood are mostly owned by people outside the community, then every one of your dollars leave that community. That's not an emotional argument, that's economics. People ask, why do black people keep shopping there? And that's because convenience, man. Convenience matters. If that's the only store in my direct area that I can readily access, that's the store I'm going to go to. If I don't have reliable transportation, if your city has weak public transit, if the nearest grocery store is miles away, you shop where you can. That's not loyalty, that's limited choices. And because capitalism ultimately responds to money, customers always have choices to make. If people feel respected, they spend. If they don't feel respected, they may choose to spend their money elsewhere. That's not violence. That's consumer behavior. That's capitalism. Because if a business profits from a community, many people believe it should invest in that community. Like hire locally, treat customers with dignity and respect, support the neighborhood that supports you. Respect should flow both ways. But there's another layer to this conversation that America rarely discusses. A lot of people come to America and enjoy rights, protections, and opportunities without fully understanding who fought to expand those rights and privileges they are enjoying. So let's talk history. The 14th Amendment was written after slavery to answer one of the biggest questions in American history. Are formerly enslaved black people American citizens? Black Americans paid for that answer with blood. The civil rights movement wasn't just for black people. Its victories expanded freedom for everyone. Women benefited, Asians benefited, Latinos benefited, religious minorities benefited, LGBTQ Americans benefited, the entire country benefited. When black Americans marched, got jailed, faced violence, and demanded equal treatment under the law, they expanded the meaning of freedom for all Americans. That's not opinion, that's history. And there was once a time where blacks and Asian activists understood that deeply. There was solidarity, there was cooperation, there was mutual respect. Yuri Kochiyama stood right along with Malcolm X, pivotal part. Activists across communities recognize something important. Racism isn't a competition, it's a system. A system that harms one group can eventually harm the other. But sometimes people fall into what I call the assimilation trap. And the assimilation trap says, if I'm close to power, maybe I'm protected. If I've been labeled a model minority, maybe I've made it and everything's okay now. But proximity to power isn't power, and proximity to whiteness isn't whiteness. History has shown that repeatedly. America once excluded Chinese immigrants. Americans interned Japanese Americans. Americans restricted immigration from Asia. That's history. And that history didn't disappear, which is why historical understanding matters. Because when somebody says, I made it, so why can't you? Without understanding slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, unequal schools, and wealth exclusion, they're missing part of the story, not because they're evil, but because they may be distant from that history. So it's mandatory that you guys know the history of the neighborhoods you're coming into. Like, distance from history creates distance from empathy. And that's what we lacking a lot of in America right now, empathy. And that brings us back to economics. Many Black consumers are increasingly asking the simple question: if our dollars are valuable, are we receiving equal respect in return? Respect, representation, fair treatment, investment, partnership. I had a homie that was trying to start a beauty supply shop in the hood for Black people. And he tried to get into the Asian, Korean supply chain. They said, no, you can't do it. He was willing to spend. It's like, no, you can't do it. No partnership. Trying to lock down the hood. In this case, he was on another side of town. He wasn't trying to be direct competition. It was just lack of a beauty shop in that one community. He wanted to open up and give some more options and convenience. They said no. Total lack of partnership, which makes that community and him feel like, oh man, y'all just want us to stay consumers. And you still is gonna make money. But the fact of the matter is, nobody wants to feel like they're good enough to spend money, but not good enough to be treated with dignity and respect. And there's an even bigger issue in America that we're still struggling with. And that's that anything associated with Blackness has been devalued historically. If you attach Blackness to anything in America, it cheapens it in a lot of folks' eyes. There's no value to Blackness besides exploitation, which is not true, but that is a sentiment. Blackness has historically meant no value. Black neighborhoods, Black schools, Black businesses, Black labor, Black culture. People hear about crime, but not enough about Black scientists, Black engineers, Black doctors, Black judges, Black entrepreneurs, Black military heroes, Black inventors. The stereotype becomes the history. Anytime you hear about Black culture, it's always a pejorative or negative swing to it. There are so many great things about Black culture. Jazz itself was devalued until white folks started doing it. Hip hop was devalued. I saw that firsthand. And once the stereotypes become the story, people stop seeing individuals. They start seeing assumptions, and assumptions shape policy, and assumptions shape policing, assumptions shape opportunity. And that's the frustration. Not a desire for special treatment, not a desire for revenge, not a desire for supremacy. Only thing Black Americans really want is a fair shot, equal justice, equal respect, and to be left the fuck alone. That's all that Black people really want. And the opportunity to build wealth and ownerships in the communities that Black folks help build. Because at the end of the day, the question isn't simply like who owns the corner store. The bigger question is who owns the economy around Black life. And until access to capital, land, credit, supply chains, transportation, and ownership becomes truly equal, America will keep having this conversation. Because for far too long, everybody has profited from Black communities, except too often the community themselves. Everybody can take from Black communities, put their stores in Black communities, exploit Black communities, but nobody gives back. The only thing they can think to do for black communities is stricter policing. When we think about this boycott of Asian businesses and black communities, I just want to point out that there is nothing hateful about this, right? Whether you agree with it or not. I've been seeing a lot of Asian influencers on the internet, and let me be clear. I know that is not always a great representation of a community. Trust me, I truly understand that. And I have Asian friends and family who I love to death. So I'm not disparaging Asian people when I say this, but those influencers on the internet has missed a big point. It ain't black people overall that is hating you. Only thing they're saying is we're going to withhold our dollars. By and large, I haven't seen any black people saying, hey man, let's go burn down Asian shops. Hey, let's go find Asians and beat them up. So this is not hate, but it seems like the response to this has been, how dare you guys hate and spread hate? No, we're just withholding our dollars. And that's anybody's right. Asian businesses in the black community, you don't have to be there. You can leave. Why don't you take your Asian business and go to another place? But I think we know the reason why. Because the hood is a gold mine. There's just lack of opportunity of ownership for the people who live in that community. Just something to think about.